Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. One of the topics that was brought up during our last quarterly meeting was about weather service. So we thought we can go over that. The weather service is something that is that we have revamped. I think earlier we have had specific implementation for weather underground and something else too, which kept getting bought and became paid. So I think few years ago we had like multiple free choices for weather data, and we had specific implementation, and things kept getting changed, or they kept getting bought by somebody else, and it was like no more free, and you have to get a paid version only. So what we thought was, okay, we should probably generalize it and make it similar to the historian framework, right? So that there are common functionalities are all in a base weather service, such as caching or changing data names to like field names to standard naming conventions and unit conversions and things like that in a base weather agent, and then make so that it's easy for people to extend. We gave one, and we did two implementations initially. One is based on NOAA's weather.gov, which is still free, thankfully. And there was another one is Dark Sky, which is not free anymore. But the idea is that if you have a preferred weather data provider, and if you have you have paid for their data, and you should be able to easily extend the service for that particular weather service. So the weather providers all differ in the data they provide. They could have different data. For example, some provide only current data and forecast data. Some provide historical data. Some provide, even within historical data, some provide only hourly data. Some provide like weekly data. So the frequency is different. The type of data provided is different. The point names returned is different. So for a current data, like one provider could give you like 30 different key value pairs, and another one could only give you like 5. So what the amount of details provided is different, and the names used is also slightly different. Units used is different, and how frequently they update the data, right? So if the current data gets updated only once every 20 minutes or once every half an hour, that frequency of how quickly the data is updated, that also depends, and that affects how we cache data. So if the data gets updated only every 1 hour, say, and if you just made a call to current data, and if when you make the second call, there's no point in making another round trip. And if it's a paid service, you're probably going to pay based on the number of times you hit the server, right? So the total number of calls you make. So if you just got a current data, and if you're asking again within like say next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there's no point in going back to the provider and wasting yet another call that you've paid for. So you might as well use it from the cache. So we try to, the base weather agent caches data, and also gives you ways to configure saying how frequently is your provider updating the data, so that it can make intelligent choices saying, okay, if it's within that update period, it will go and grab the data from the cache. If not, oh, my cache, though I have data in cache, the provider would have updated the data information, so I'll go and get fresh data, and that's applicable for current data. But if it's historical data, then what is there is already there, so you just grab it from cache if it's there. Yeah, I think that's the difference in how the base weather caches. So caching is very useful, especially when you're using paid services. The base weather agent also allows you to limit the number of API calls you can make. So if you say you have paid for dark sky and they say you can make me only like 500 calls in a day based on your payment plan, then you can specify that in the configuration. So you can say limit the total number of APIs to 500 and after that error so that it doesn't get charged. No, because this is useful because some of the providers uh, ask you for the credit card details and they'll automatically charge you, right? They won't just give you an error, it's just the request will go through, you will get a reply back and you charge if it's over the number of count for that day or week, however it does it, it'll automatically start charging your credit card. So we wanted to give that as like a like a check from our end saying, okay, you could configure it an API limit, or you could say, there's no API limit for what I have, so forget it. So that is also another feature. And these information that I'm talking about is there in the weather service service specification document and read the docs. So if you just, I always find it by just searching for weather service. That's the easiest way to find it. Then another, okay, so that's about caching and restricting calls. The next thing that base weather service does is name mapping. So like, the names can be like, say, your atmospheric pressure or whatever how you name those terms can be different for different providers. And so we follow the standard CF standard naming conventions. I hope there is a link here somewhere. If not, we can look up that CF standard name. CF is what? Climate and forecast standard naming table, right? Standard name convention, CF metadata, standard name table. Yeah, there. So that's the standard. So we use this as a standard and we give this as an option. So in your agent, for example, in weather.gov agent, I have a name mapping .csv, which essentially maps the name that weather.gov gives me to a standard name. So for example, weather.gov returns the sea level pressure as the sea level pressure all in one word, but the standard says it should be called as air pressure at mean sea level. So this is an optional feature. So if you have a naming mapping.csv as a part of your agent data directory, then the base weather service will call this, load it, and will do the name mapping conversion for you. If there is no the standard naming convention, this table is not all exclusive. So sometimes you might not find any mapping. And for those, you can leave it as blank. And for example, whatever minimum temperature last 24 hours will be just the same, right? There is no name change happening there. The other thing that you could do is the units. So different API providers provide data in different units. So if you want to convert those to a standard unit, you could do that also here. And the weather agent uses the Pint package to do this. So that is a requirement. So before you install weather, you'd have to do a pip install of Pint if you're using any of the conversion feature. And that is specified as, if I remember right, yeah, we do include that as a requirement in the text in the requirements.txt file. So unit conversion is another thing that the base weather takes care of. It'll will load your CSV file name mappings and it'll do the name mapping and unit conversions for you. There is also, it also provides you APIs to list what are all the services available because, like I said, dark sky gives you historical data, but weather.gov does not give you historical data. So you can say, okay, these are all the available features. So there's a get API features that you can implement in your code, which will return the list of features. And locations is a dictionary, and this is a how you query for data, right? So um, all API services, whether APIs expect a location, but how you provide this location depends on your specific weather agent. For example, for the weather.gov APIs, it expects a station ID, and for, I think, dark sky, it's lat and long, or for something else, it could be zip code, right? So you specify the value, the name of the location data and the value in a dictionary, and that's your primary input. So to the weather agent. Mm. So right now we have like few standard APIs, that is like get current weather, get hourly forecast, get hourly historical are the ones that we started with. Of course, if you have an API that has more than this, we can add that to the base and make it available for others who are extending. These are just abstract methods that you will implement for your agent and then return the values for it. You can also implement a periodic polling. So you could say, okay, poll current weather every 60 seconds or every 3 minutes or whatever, right? So that is a configurable stuff. And you could also poll for multiple locations at a time or a single location. And similar to historian, there is an all topic in which you will get all the results. But you could also split it into location specific. So if you have, like, if you're polling for 2 different locations, you can say, okay, it'll just map like one-on-one, like positional mapping. So the first zip will be whatever you give this, right? So it'll be a weather/result topic will have the results of just the weather data of the first location, and the weather/this result underscore 99353 will have the results of zip code 99353. And similar to historian, you can also limit the amount of cache, so you can have a max cache size. That's pretty much what the overall feature set of the base weather. And so that individual agents need not take care of caching, need not take care of name mapping, unit conversion, and taking care of subscribing to topic, or taking care of posting the results in the standard format. So that's all like the generic features that the base weather agent gives you. Of course, we do make assumptions in the sense, like, if there is an API key needed for this one, you specify the API key in your configuration. And if you try to call, say, get historical data from weather.gov, it's going to return a not implemented error, right? So, and the location again, if your specific provider expects a zip code and not a lat long, then you give that as your input in location. So that API weather data provider specific details have to be validated and handled in the individual weather agents. So let me show you any questions so far. Okay, I keep going. One of the only free things that we have right now is the weather.gov data from NOAA. And I don't know why this won't load. Okay, there you go. So this has no API key. So it's just a cache name file, maximum size GB, and the list of locations. As I said, weather.gov expects the poll location to be like station IDs. So you provide a station ID and then a poll interval. This is for current polling, current data. And so you can configure this. And this is the name mapping CSVs that I just showed. It's like, service point name, the standard point name, and any service unit and standard units. So I will run an agent. I can install and run something so I can show you the data result format. Then I can also show you the other APIs and tests. So not this one, wrong window, sorry. Okay, there. So I have sorry. I already have a listener on weather, but we can remove this and try to install that way. I can show you the configuration. So that's the configuration I have. This is just specifying where my database will go, and then the maximum size and what poll locations I'm polling and the interval. So right now I'm just polling every 10 seconds. So I do a VCTL install config and services code with the data card. So that's the agent that I'm installing. It's installed fine. Let's do and let's start both the weather agent and the listener so that I can see what results get posted on the message bus. Weather.gov and listener. Oh, sorry. Am I not giving the right? F. I'm typing really badly today. Sorry. Okay. UUIDs. The first letter is not unique anymore, so my bad. So VCTL start 2B1 and 2B. Okay. Oh, I already got the first, so we can see this one. Let's look at the result that got posted. Let's see. So you can see it's now posting to a weather poll current all. So that's the format. So the topic prefix is weather, and then followed by what you're doing, whether you're polling or forecast or is it historical data. Based on that, this second one will change. You're polling and for current, and since we don't have multiple we're posting everything to the same topic. It's just going to all topic. And so it says this is the time at which the result was observed. This is the time at which the result was observed. This is the station ID. And for this station ID, this is the result. Everything goes under a weather underscore results. If there was an error, it'll be under weather underscore error. And in that, you pretty much get all the data that was returned. And in this, if you have anything that needs to be changed, the name change or the unit change, all that would have happened. So you have, that's pretty much so. So it's what is posted is a list of dictionaries and one dictionary for each location that you're polling. So this is like the first location, then that finished, and then you get exactly the same data for the next location, observation time, the location details, and the result for that location. So that's the weather.gov. We do have an implementation for dark sky, but a disclaimer is that we have not tested this in a while, ever since they made it all fully paid. But at least this gives a sample reference point implementation if anybody else is interested in using the dark sky. Dark sky does provide historical data. So you would see the list of supported, right? So as say minutely forecast, daily forecast, and hourly historical, oh, it doesn't provide historical, I'm sorry. It provides minutely forecast and daily forecast. So I've registered these as the service, and it uses lat and long instead of station IDs, and that is different. And this one, it does have like API call interval defined, like Dark Sky used to have at least I think 1,000 call limit per day for free when this was initially created and tested. Might not be true, but if it's different now, that this is where you will say, okay, my API call limit that is there in config. This is the config that I was talking about, API call limit. If you put something here, and if you want to use that, the API call interval method is the one that you would update, saying, okay, that limit is for a day or no, for a week or whatever. And you specify that, and that's how it'll be different, I guess. But still, the format will be pretty standard. You'll have like an observation time and a location. And in this case, it'll be like lat and long, right? Location, and there'll be a weather result. In case of error, there'll be a weather underscore error. So it'll still be like a standard format, but what is within the result will be different because it'll have a different set of points and values for dark sky. And in both the cases, if you really want to see what all are supported, the best way to look, see all possible, supported parameters, supported combinations would be like to go refer to the unit test case. So this tells you the unit test case. Both of them have all cases covered in unit test cases, so you can see what kind of config is valid, what is the result data permitted. So running the test cases would be like the best starting point, I would say, if you want to just see what is all supported by weather.gov or dark sky. Any questions? I guess who were asked about weather service during the quarterly call is not here. I think we had like at least a few questions, and that's why we thought it'd be good to revise again. But anyway, this is recorded, so hopefully, whoever had questions can look at it. And as always, you can always reach out to us if you have questions later. That's all I had.
Thanks, Chandrika. Have any of you been using weather agents or have any information on how you want to use it and things like that, so that we can get some points on extending this framework? Any thoughts on that? Okay, if not, that's all we had in terms of presentation. Do you have any questions for us? It can be any topic.
Anyone has any issues to be resolved or anything? Any discussion points to raise? Anything? Any comments on any of the discussion pages on GitHub? Okay, looks like we have a very quiet lot today.
Everybody's thinking of Thanksgiving.
That could be it, yeah. It's just too close to holidays. No one wants to think about more problems.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then we'll call it a day. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop recording now. And see you at the next office hours.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you all. Bye.